Hey everyone, and welcome back to Wild Tech. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jenny. Mark, I hear you have something rather unusual for us today. Something from another realm?
Haha, in a way, yeah. We're diving into the quantum realm. Specifically, what's happening at Lawrence Livermore National Lab, or LLNL. They're undertaking some fascinating work in quantum technology, and it has implications for some pretty significant areas.
Ooh, significant areas? As in national security significant?
Precisely. So, a major focus for them is developing quantum computing algorithms to address complex national security challenges. Consider problems so intricate, so extensive, that even our most powerful classical supercomputers struggle to handle them.
Okay, hold on a minute. Are you saying they're using quantum computers to solve, espionage problems?
Well, not exactly spy problems in the cinematic sense, though cryptography is a substantial area they're investigating. It's more about things like simulating nuclear reactions with remarkable accuracy, or optimizing vast datasets to identify potential threats. Quantum computing, due to properties like superposition and entanglement, can process certain types of calculations in a manner that's beyond classical computers.
That's intriguing, but still a bit abstract. How does using quantum bits, or qubits, assist with something like simulating a nuclear reaction?
Good question. So you know how classical computers use bits that are either a 0 or a 1? Qubits can be both 0 and 1 concurrently, or even a mix of both. This allows them to explore a tremendous number of possibilities simultaneously, which is very effective for modeling systems with many interacting components, like atoms in a reaction.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense. So it's about tackling complexity directly. But I imagine constructing these quantum computers isn't straightforward.
Oh, it's quite challenging. A substantial part of LLNL's research is dedicated to the materials used in these quantum computers. The tiny components, the qubits, are remarkably sensitive to their environment.
Sensitive in what way?
Sensitive to heat, vibrations, even minute electromagnetic fluctuations. They are researching materials, such as superconducting materials, that can maintain these delicate quantum states at incredibly low temperatures. It's akin to trying to keep a perfectly still body of water in a strong wind.
Wow. Okay, so the materials are crucial. And I assume the algorithms, the instructions you provide the computer, have to be designed for these delicate systems?
Exactly. Developing algorithms that can function within the current constraints, the noise as they call it, in quantum hardware is an entire field in itself. It's this continuous interplay between improving the hardware and developing more sophisticated algorithms that can tolerate those imperfections.
All right, I think I'm beginning to understand this. But you mentioned unusual earlier. What's the most surprising thing they've uncovered?
Okay, this is quite remarkable. They've found a connection between cosmic rays and errors in quantum computers.
You're serious? Radiation from deep space is interfering with our quantum computers?
Right? Isn't that something? High-energy particles from space can interact with the qubits and cause them to change their state unexpectedly. It presents a genuine challenge for maintaining the accuracy of quantum calculations. They are actively studying this phenomenon to determine how to better shield these machines or develop error correction techniques specifically for cosmic ray impacts.
That is unexpected. So they're developing advanced technology, and then space weather introduces a complication?
Essentially, it underscores how much more we need to learn about building reliable quantum systems. And this brings up another significant point from the research: workforce development.
Ah, yes. Building the machines and guarding against cosmic rays requires skilled individuals.
Undoubtedly, LLNL is making a considerable investment in training the next generation of quantum scientists and engineers. They are conducting workshops, such as the Real-World Quantum Computing Workshop that took place in May of 2024. They offer students and researchers hands-on access to actual quantum hardware, like their QuaDIT testbed.
That must be a tremendous opportunity. Gaining practical experience with this forward-thinking technology.
Yeah, it bridges that gap between simply learning the theory and actually operating these intricate systems. It's essential for cultivating a skilled workforce that can propel the field forward.
So we have the national security applications, the materials science, the cosmic ray issue, and training future experts. Where is all of this leading? Are we on the verge of, say, widespread quantum computers?
That's the key question. Christy Beck, the director of the Livermore Center for Quantum Science, offered a rather insightful comparison. She likened our current position with quantum computing to where lasers were in the 1960s.
Lasers in the 60s? Before laser pointers and barcode scanners?
Exactly. At that time, lasers were an interesting piece of technology, but no one knew precisely all the ways they would be utilized. People were still seeking the killer app, that single application that would make lasers indispensable.
So we're still searching for the killer app for quantum computing?
Correct. While we have several potential areas, like breaking encryption, solving incredibly complex optimization problems in logistics or finance, or even simulating new molecules for medicine, we haven't identified that one application that makes everyone think, we absolutely require a quantum computer for this.
But Dr. Beck sounds optimistic?
Quite so. She believes, similar to lasers, the applications for quantum computing will eventually be extensive. It simply requires time, research, and discovering the appropriate problems. The work at LLNL, from the fundamental materials research to workforce training, is all aimed at moving towards that future where we uncover those significant applications.
It's a rather interesting thought that we're at this stage with a technology possessing such immense, yet still largely unknown, potential, like being at the very beginning of the internet era or something similar.
It is, and these sorts of efforts, like those at LLNL, are paving the path. Just learning about the cosmic ray issue alone shows how much uncharted territory exists in this domain.
Given all this, the complexity, the cost, the sensitivity, it makes you wonder about accessibility, right? How does the sheer expense impact who gets to play in this quantum playground?
That's a significant point, Jenny. Quantum computing is currently quite expensive, both the hardware itself and the infrastructure to maintain it. This could indeed lead to disparities in technological advancement.
So only major labs, wealthy corporations, or governments can really afford to push forward right now? How does that affect wider innovation? Could it stifle creativity in smaller organizations or universities without massive budgets?
It's a valid concern. The high barrier to entry definitely presents a challenge for broader adoption. While initiatives like LLNL's workshops aim to introduce more people to the technology, owning and operating a quantum computer is a different matter entirely. The hope is that, as the technology matures and potentially scales, the costs will decrease over time, similar to how classical computing developed.
Let's hope so. And speaking of potential downsides, what about security? We touched on cryptography applications, but couldn't quantum computers also be a risk?
Absolutely. This is another key area of focus. While quantum computers could be used to break certain types of existing encryption, the research simultaneously involves developing quantum-resistant algorithms and encryption methods. It's a security arms race, in a way.
So are labs like LLNL actively working on making encryption stronger against quantum attacks?
Oh yes. Developing countermeasures is as critical as exploring the potential offensive capabilities. They're exploring post-quantum cryptography, algorithms designed to be secure even with the advent of powerful quantum computers. It's a proactive measure to safeguard our digital infrastructure.
That's reassuring, I suppose. But what about the environmental cost of all this advanced tech? Requiring incredibly low temperatures must use a lot of energy, right?
It does. The cryogenic cooling required for some types of quantum computers is energy-intensive. The materials themselves, particularly in their production, can also have an environmental footprint. This is something that needs careful consideration as the field grows.
Have they found ways to mitigate that? Or is it just an unavoidable consequence of the technology?
Researchers are looking into it. This includes exploring more energy-efficient cooling methods, researching new materials that might require less extreme conditions, and generally optimizing the operational efficiency of these systems. It's an ongoing area of research, as sustainability is becoming increasingly important across all technological fields.
So it's not just about the science of computation, but also the science of materials, energy, and even space weather, apparently. It really is a multifaceted challenge.
Completely. And the sensitivity to environment, like those cosmic rays causing errors, is a prime example of these interconnected challenges. It's about building incredibly delicate systems and then figuring out how to make them robust enough to function reliably.
So what innovative solutions are being explored to deal with these environmental issues? Beyond just better shielding.
Error correction is a significant area of research. It's about designing quantum algorithms that can detect and correct errors caused by environmental noise, including cosmic rays. It's complex, because correcting errors in quantum systems is different from classical error correction due to the nature of qubits. They're also studying the precise mechanisms by which these particles interact with the qubits.
It sounds immensely complicated. Like teaching a computer to fix itself while being constantly bombarded by tiny particles from space.
A bit like that, yes. It requires a deep understanding of both quantum mechanics and particle physics, and it's all linked back to the workforce development piece, training people who have expertise across these different scientific disciplines.
So looking ahead, beyond the killer app and addressing these challenges, what's something truly out there that quantum computing might enable? Something that seems almost futuristic?
Well, one possibility lies in areas like drug discovery and materials science. Quantum computers could potentially simulate the behavior of complex molecules with an accuracy that's simply not possible with classical computers. This could accelerate the development of new pharmaceuticals or materials with tailored properties.
So potentially creating new medicines or materials from scratch by simulating them before making them in a lab?
Precisely. Imagine simulating a new drug molecule interacting with a protein in a human body with quantum accuracy. This could dramatically shorten the drug discovery process and lead to more effective treatments. Or designing entirely new materials at the atomic level.
That's a potent concept. From national security to potentially curing diseases, it adds a whole other dimension to the significance of this research.
It certainly does. It shows the potential for quantum computing to address some of the most complex and important challenges facing humanity. But, as we've discussed, there are considerable hurdles to overcome to get there.
It's a pretty unusual thought, that we're at this stage with a technology with such immense, but still unknown, potential. Like being at the very beginning of the internet or something similar.
It is. And it's efforts like those at LLNL that are paving the way. Learning about the cosmic ray issue alone just shows how much frontier there is in this field.
Well, intriguing stuff, Mark. It sounds like the quantum realm is still home to many mysteries and chances.
Definitely. And we'll keep tracking it here on Wild Tech. That's all for this episode.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time on Wild Tech.